And we're live. And we're live. Yes. Oh, there it is. Okay. Just took a second. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Feedback Friday Art Edition. I'm your host, Jacob, with my co-host, Charlie. Hello. How's everyone doing? Hello. Be prepared for 6+ hours. I don't think we'll be going that long today. Um, just setting up my window there. Working on it. We'll see. I saw someone in Discord wondering if we were going to work on the map today. That's maybe a possibility if I get everything else done early enough. We could maybe try that. I don't want to, make any promises around that, but that could be fun. Yes. All right. Well, let's see. So we're obviously working on some Halloween stuff today, because got to amp up for the event season. And I'm going to be making a couple assets for it. Most of the ones I'm working on are mostly done. It's kind of like a set of 5 things. What's the size of the mouse in MouseHunt? Well, one, there's a few, and they vary a lot. They go all over the place in terms of scale. How is the Fiery Warpath Journal theme going? I totally kind of haven't returned to that. It's where it was. I had a nice little vacation last week and had been working on other things since then. So, yeah, good reminder about that. I need to kind of like create some kind of scheduled task to finish that up probably, or maybe we'll luck out with a another kind of light stream where I can kind of just finish that off. Is the average brown mouse human size? No. No, the average brown mouse is mouse size, like regular size. Pretty big too. Basically a living storm. All right. Yeah, in MouseHunt, scale does not exist. That is absolutely correct. There is no kind of like correlation between mice, even in the same area. It's just one of those like abstract concepts. It maybe Narnia exists in a higher dimension where like scale is kind of less relative, or more relative. I don't know. That stuff hurts my brain to think about. Hello, 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 everyone. Hi. So we're gonna do art, and I'm gonna jump over to what I was working on. Let me just swap cameras. So it's a thing. It's got dragons on the side, and it's got a cool skull with bat wings on the top. I'll show you the other ones. So there's kind of 5 things I'm working on here. So this is more completed. It's still not polished yet, but it's kind of like getting there. Here's one that I kind of like was working on yesterday at the end of the day. So this one's probably the most complete. And then this one I want to tweak kind of what's going on here. Just kind of change some of the shape language. It's close to what I want, but it's a little too spiky to be honest. So that might take a little bit to fix, but not too bad. And then this one, I would say that that's pretty like complete as well. So I'm not going to say what any of these are, because I don't want to, like give you some kind of concept about what's going on. We're still at a stage where things could change about any of this, so I don't want to kind of be like, yeah, this is totally what this is. Oh, sorry, it totally is not that, actually. My bad. But I'd say we can just kind of jump right in and get arting. So I'm in Clip Studio right now. and it has this cool fun thing where you can create a ruler that mirrors where the ruler is. And I've been having fun using that. I don't use it too much, but basically, when you draw on one side, it kind of mirrors it perfectly. But it's nice that it also kind of like doesn't matter what side you're on. And you can also make multiple lines, and that's actually how I've done like snowflakes and stuff. You give it like kind of like 3 lines to mirror, and it creates 6 sides. And it's a handy way to kind of do something you want nice and symmetrical. So I've been sketching a lot of them with this kind of mirrored symmetry, and then when I paint it, I kind of like go out of the symmetry mode just because I want a little bit more of the kind of like unbalanced, asymmetrical, organic painting that tends to happen with my work, at least. Though like some of them are very obviously not symmetrical, which is cool. So I enjoyed that design. I actually reworked it. It was kind of a completely different look before, but yeah, I think I kind of unified the shape a little bit better, made it read better, because these will also be, as it goes, pretty small. So I want to make sure that it's kind of, at least, the shape exists and there's kind of like cohesion throughout. So this one I think isn't quite the shape I need it to be yet. This one's pretty busy, but I think it works. I might lighten up this kind of like metal. I was going for kind of a pewter, and I think that I want it to kind of be a little brighter. I might do it more of like a gradient, and maybe kind of like try and make it a little more dimensional, so it kind of like comes out towards you a little bit more. Yeah, this one I would say that at size is pretty good. There's just like a little bit of like messiness in the paint that I would like to clean up, and honestly wouldn't make a difference though. So it's extremely low priority. So basically this one I don't think I need to work on. This one I might kind of lighten up that pewter in a couple of points just to round it out a bit. This one I need to kind of change the shape. This one's basically done. I'd say it's done enough. And then this one we're going to work on to start. So what is wait, so the king is scared of the acolyte bringing an army of zombies who are rat-sized. Seems like an overreaction using black holes to kill them. Listen, don't question the king. No, I mean, like, even though they're a lot of them are small in scale, like the town mice are kind of regular mouse size, but like the dojo and forward tend to kind of get actually a bit bigger. So you might be kind of like, running into kind of like characters that are quite a bit bigger, like dog size or I don't actually know specifically what mice. We removed the weight, or removed the kind of like addition of actually adding weighting to the mice. Like we just kind of I don't know how often we actually kind of like really consider that when plugging it in. I'm not a part of that process. But yeah, like I think there was a Halloween boss, the what is it, like Titanic Brain Eater or something like that, that was like said to be bigger than a house, but its weight was like like a couple of grams. So that was kind of fun. I think a lot of them are weird like that. It is just like really low gravity. And it's just kind of like based off of that. I don't know. It's one of those details that we kind of like don't worry too much about. Kind of like, you know, why does Mario travel through pipes to jump on, you know, weird mushroom, living mushroom creatures, and then consume mushrooms to double his size, and all kinds of interesting, you know, video game questions that you just don't ask. So scale in MouseHunt is one of those things. There's kind of like a little bit of a like cohesion in its own right, I think. But it's one of those things you try not to think too much about. I don't know. Honestly, like I feel if we dug into it, we could actually kind of like figure it out. That might be a fun thing to do at some point. I think today my brain is like not spooled up to kind of get into that though. So with this, I want to kind of like tilt it forward a little bit, just kind of rounding towards us. So I think actually what needs to change is these little feet. I think they need to be kind of like coming out a bit more like this. But how's everyone doing? Have you been touring the palace and getting many a jewel, or still running around, you know, grabbing fuel, etc.? How do you like it? Put a lot of work into kind of like trying to get a good experience for that, and yeah, I'm interested in the impressions that you have of the experience. So feel free to share. Yeah, today's probably going to be like mostly just me rendering, and not kind of asking for as much feedback on the direction for the piece of art, because I kind of like have an idea of where it needs to go, as opposed to kind of just like, oh, what should this look like? Obviously, it's kind of already designed. Is the Imperium Empress literally towering over buildings, or is that just for the cool factor? She's totally like just like a force of nature in the sky, much like how the wardens are kind of more like a force of nature than the the paragons being like kind of like the actual bosses of their power type. The Empress is kind of more of a force of nature, not nature so much, but of just power type. So she's like that coalesced, I suppose you could say. At least that's how I kind of think of it. But yeah, she is as big as she looks. So massive, and very fun to draw. I did that image, so quite enjoyed that. That was actually one of the early images for the area. It was kind of one of those where you get to kind of try to figure out the tone, and that I think helped with kind of like understanding what the palace itself looked like. Just trying to like capture that environment. Just trying to get like toes on the far side of this. I'm not sure if that works, but it's okay. Again, it's going to be like viewed at such a small size. It really is not too important to get all the minute details that I like to. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I really felt that the edition kind of like added a layer of choice into the mix, where it kind of like really plays with the kind of original version of the floating islands, and they just kind of like reinforce each other in interesting and fun ways, and it just kind of gives even more kind of options for you know, what your resource pool is like, what your goals are at the time, and when you change those things, and they're constantly evolving and kind of shifting, there's kind of like really good options. Like the next run I'm doing, I might actually do my charm one, because I'm kind of like burning through charms fast, and it's like I haven't done as many maps as a lot of other people, so I'm not, you know, just swimming in all the charms ever. So I'm kind of like, maybe that will be the next one I do, because I wouldn't mind just kind of, you know, getting that silhouette, and I feel like I could stock up again a little bit in time for, you know, event season where you got to use all your charms. I don't know. But I don't know. It's just kind of fun to have a lot of options. So yes, the Empress has a hand for each of the power types. So that is correct. Yeah. I had a fun time watching kind of speculation around what one is what, because they're not like ultra obvious, but there is definitely people who guessed correctly, so that was neat. I'm like, is this a bad sign that it's not an easy thing to guess? Like, it's not super obvious? It's probably a bad sign. But people seem to get it. Oh, actually, this one, I am going to mirror this right now, just to start. It just makes blocking in a lot easier. So these toes, they could be pewter or glass. I think I'll make the eyes this glass as well. So I think that'll look cool. I kind of feel like they would be pewter, so I'm gonna leave that. And let's do a new layer. We'll also mirror. And let's just grab this color here. Thank you. So I'm going to try, for people watching this kind of like later on, because I know there's quite a few people who will just kind of like catch this not live. Hello to you. I'm going to try and add timestamps to the video. If I end up going like over lunch, because you know my lunch will last an hour, and I just realized how to kind of easily add timestamps to the video after it's been up, so I can just kind of make like a little link to just jump to, you know, lunch is done, continue painting nice and easily. And other streams I've done, I'll often kind of like talk for a good 15 minutes at the start before I even start art, so I could like add, you know, the kind of timestamp for like saying good morning or whatever, chat, and then, you know, starting the sketch, and even different parts of the process. I kind of have, you know, like it won't be as applicable for today's work, but I have kind of like the sketch phase, the filling in the silhouette flats phase, the rendering. That'd be kind of cool to like have those timestamps, and then when I'm working in Clip Studio and I remember to, I have time-lapse ability where I can kind of like put a little timestamp at the very end and be like, rewatch the time lapse, you know, where it basically plays the entire day's work over, you know, 1 to 5 minutes, so you get to see the whole thing in a very condensed amount of time. So I'm gonna try to remember to do that, just for the convenience of those watching. And of course, you know, if you are watching live, I tend to go long enough that not everyone sticks around. So it's a handy way to kind of like see where it ended up at the end. But yeah, I know a lot of people kind of like pop in and out throughout the day, which is always a cool way to kind of hang out art stream wise. Oh, I missed
Only
a
you
little
had
bit.
a place to post your time lapses on your stream.
Huh?
Only you had a place to post your time lapses on your stream, or
Oh.
you could watch them.
Yeah, if only I had that. Wouldn't that be handy? If only. All right, so ooh, it was like nice and cool yesterday. I was like, fall is finally here. I can like, I don't know, not have the AC on full blast all the time and having to wear shorts every single day. Not that I'm complaining about shorts, but I only have so many pairs. And so today I'm like, it's going to be another nice, cool fall day. And suddenly I am just boiling. So I'm wearing pants, I guess. And the AC was, not running for a while. And I have south-facing windows, which are great for plants, but just brutal through the afternoon. So, every once in a while I like to update you all with my kind of like internal temperature. It's high. How's your temperature doing? Doing well? Any of you cold-blooded? Need to have like nice heat lamp through the day. All right. So. Yeah, there's definitely like good opportunities for plank run journals that we haven't been able to kind of like fit in. I'm not a very confident writer, and we've been a little busy to kind of like add those extra details, but we've been managing recently to kind of like amp up our team a bit in terms of kind of like we've scaled up the team, so we are actually managing to kind of work on some of those lower, not hanging fruit, but just like things that don't make the cut normally because they're not high priority. Oh, need to change what color I have because they're not high priority. I know I didn't need to change the color. Messing up all my hotkeys. But it's one of those kind of like cool things that we want to put in more because lore is a great element of MouseHunt, and there could be a good amount more, and we just have not been able to kind of like, please, there we go, not being able to like focus on that as much as we probably could. So that's kind of like one of the things we want to be able to, do a little bit more of. That whole MouseHunt survey that we did. Honestly, there was like way more feedback than we actually anticipated because you all are such amazing people and shared your thoughts on kind of like, what frustrates you, what you love about the game, what you'd love to see more of, all kinds of amazing feedback, and the data crew who basically climbed a mountain of data and correlated that together to kind of like share with the team did a fantastic job of just kind of like putting it all together in kind of like interesting, useful ways where we kind of like, oh, okay, so this is something that we kind of like figured was a thing, but like here's a little bit more of a kind of like, this is how much the community values this and so there was a good amount of people who would like more kind of like lore depth. So it was quite nice to see, because it's one of those things that can be really hard to like justify, kind of putting in that extra effort. But I think that world building really does kind of mean a lot, especially to a game that is so long running with such a dedicated community. Sure, it's not for everybody, and you know, it doesn't like add mechanically to the game, but I think that the it adds a certain level of polish and quality to the product. Product feels like a weird word to use, but yeah, it can be important to kind of making it special and such. So, you know, more I want to do on that this year. But yeah, there's just so many other things, like Relic Hunter. There's kind of like cool things we want to, you know, improve quality of life for a lot of that. Yeah, so I don't know. Actually, enjoying the questions about Plank Run. I'd like to almost see like just like a list of questions people have about Plank Run. I wouldn't necessarily do that here, because I'm not going to answer any of that. But just kind of like for when we get around to kind of actually working on more of that kind of backstory and kind of weaving that in somewhere, or in multiple places. It would be neat to kind of like know what some questions are, and maybe even try to answer some of those through the lore dump there. All right, so I'm feeling this is a little better now. I'm gonna add a layer. This is gonna be clipped to that layer below, and with this one, let's see, what color should I go for here? I'm gonna do a. Oh, I already have a grayscale layer. I don't need that. Let's see. Foreground transparent is my gradient brush. So if I do this, that is definitely way too dark. A nice purple to orange feels appropriate for a dragon themed thing, whatever this is, who knows. And let's just kind of compare the colors though. I don't want to, I want them all to like be unique. So this is very blue, green and purple, yeah. Okay, so these are going to be really close color-wise, so I might change that. Gold is obviously gold, so maybe more like fiery colors for this would work. Or like, oh, I was thinking cold blue, but then it's like you know, like blue flame kind of vibe, like, but I'm kind of like, that's what this is in a way. So yeah, I could go more orangey, and then this one I could go more purple. Yeah, let's do that. I feel like that would probably work better than the other way around, like this being more orange and this being more purple. I feel like this works better as more orange. So instead of purple, I'm gonna go like more into the kind of reds. Yeah, okay, I think that'll work. So that, ooh, that looks kind of pretty with that kind of like lotus, and then kind of red pink. Also, if my colors are a little weird, I apologize. There was a Windows update recently when I got back from my little kind of week break, and I did the update, and then everything on my computer was like reset, all my settings, all kinds of stuff. So my calibration for my monitor was lost, and I haven't like really kind of like dug into making sure the calibration is exactly how it was before. But at least I have kind of like another monitor I'm looking at the image on to kind of like see what it should look like. So it's quite a bit brighter on stream than it is on this monitor. So I do need to address that at some point. All right. It does look like dragon fruit. Yeah, that is cool. All right, so what would be in another layer? I'm going to drop the sketch even more, but I'm thinking kind of like the actual lighting on this one. So we could go with a brightness layer, and basically all that does is it changes the values without affecting like the color or the saturation. And because this is kind of glass, I like to have the actual shading on it be basically the opposite of kind of like a opaque object. So like if the light's coming from above, I like to have the shadow be on the top side of the shape, because then it kind of implies there's this internal, bouncing of light. The light goes through the object, hits the bottom, and then is bouncing out. And then, right. So it's a little smushy, this brush. It's a little sensitive. I feel like I need to maybe try dropping the density a bit. Seeing the screen caps in Discord. Nice little spoiler tag on them. Alright, so I'm just kind of roughly blocking it in, but you can kind of see how the base of it has this kind of little bit of a glow going on because of that. And then when I hit the tops of these with some kind of specular reflection of the light source, it'll kind of like suddenly have a little more of this kind of glassy feel to it. All right, so use my smudge brush to just kind of like clean that up just a little bit. It's a little mushy feeling. It won't really matter at size, but hey, we're zoomed in on stream, so I'm going to give you the high detail. I mean, I already illustrate everything I do kind of to that fidelity anyways, so it's not like it wouldn't happen. I find it very hard to cut corners on artwork. Like, I know no one's gonna see this level of detail, but I gotta put it in. I can't help myself. There's this like compulsion to do it. So, right. Maybe not brush density, but opacity. It's just feeling a little too strong. When I'm like working, it feels like I'm pressing hard, but I'm not. So I was having this issue with my previous pen, but it turns out that I'd basically broken the tip of it, where I'm pretty sure the cats had knocked it off my desk a few too many times, where like you would just gently press it and it would sink right in and go from like zero pressure to like 80% of the way to max, just with the slightest touch. but it's starting to feel like it's doing that again. So I'm kind of thinking that like with that whole Windows, update, it kind of messed some of those settings up. So I'm gonna pop over to, let's see, Q1. So I have the calibration here. So let's see, it is valid. Actually, they changed this. This is like a different version of it than I'm used to. Yeah, this is, yeah. All right, well, how do I actually calibrate you? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is just reset to no, like, adjustment. Yeah, it's, like, I have to really not touch it to kind of get a nice, thin, crisp line. So what I like is something a little closer to this, where like the initial pressure is very low feedback on it. So if I do that again, and somewhere in between where it was and where it is, because you can see, like I'm gonna try and do as like soft and smooth a transition as I can. You can see it like jumps, and that's because it's just a little too much here. So let me bring this up, maybe something like that. Okay, that's a little better. It still kind of spikes just a bit fast there. Maybe this. Okay, that's feeling a little more like it used to. Still could maybe take a little off the front. It's getting that like thin wispy pressure is not super critical, but like, okay, that's probably good. Yeah, okay. I think I'm good with that. Yeah, I wasn't feeling like I had the control I did before, and yeah, so Windows reset that as well, as to be expected. Like all my passwords, everything, just completely nuked. So that was quite interesting. I mean, like the password still existed, but like everything was logged out. So I guess it kind of removed all the cached files and cookies and whatever, but that's kind of annoying because there was like some stuff I didn't realize how long I've been kind of like signed into them that I'm like, I do not remember how to sign into this thing anymore. So that's fun. Even the license on Clip Studio was missing. So that was weird because it was just like, I don't know. I've never had a Windows update do that. So that was kind of fun. I don't know. Technology and the people developing and kind of updating it. Like, I feel like I complain about Adobe every stream, but I don't know what they're doing over there, but they make choices. And I don't know if this one's true, but I had heard on the grapevine that like Adobe was working on a thing where basically if you create a Photoshop file in Photoshop, it like won't be compatible with other programs, which seems insane and like really dumb. And I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I had heard someone say that. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like I guess I could believe it because of choices that companies tend to make. Because capitalism makes people really dumb. Yeah. Hello, welcome to a MouseHunt art stream. This is what we ramble on about sometimes. Which probably, yeah, bending the curve. Hello, Eileen. Ugh, yeah. I don't know. Like, it reminds me of the whole DRM thing. Was it DRM? Where there was like the pirating stuff that was like being tried out for video games, and it was just like the worst thing ever. Everyone hated it, and just like it didn't work. Like I feel like if Adobe is like, you must only ever use our programs, that might be the final kick for people to be like, I'm done with this, because a lot of people use it, but like for a lot of things, to like be forced to work in one way is kind of really gross. Although of course it would totally work, you know. So that's the worst part, really. All right, so turning off the sketch. I feel like it's getting a bit. Well, no, actually, I think that is working. It does look like dragon fruit, which is cool. I'm down with that. And I honestly, when I get the highlights kind of punched up on this, get some of that internal glow going on, I think this will really look nice. So just want to get there real soon. All right, so I have the stopper thing kind of visible through it there. All right, so let's do a new layer, and we're going to use kind of more of a, I guess, sky blue. And we'll say it's kind of, I don't want to make the highlight too big. Less is more, especially with highlights. You really gotta not overdo it. But I think it is quite important for this to kind of get that quality of material, because you know, glass is quite a reflective surface if polished, and I would say that's kind of the material I'm going for this. And kind of because of that like shadow on the top and internal glow coming from the base, but then the highlight implying the lighting is still coming from above. It gives a very gem-like, you know, translucent kind of colorful and shiny material quality, which is great. So for the actual kind of shadow up here, I don't like that it's not changing its color range. It's very muddy because I just used basically luminosity layer on it. Clipster is called brightness. But basically all it did was change the value, not the color. But I think that it would benefit from having a little bit more range in its color. It's fine down here because it's just like really saturated, but up here because it's kind of like, you know, not very saturated, it kind of gets really muddy feeling. So I just can probably go one layer above that, and I'm not doing it right now, but okay. Yeah, just add a little color pop to it. So I think I would go like warmer. So I guess let's try this. So color. Now I don't want it to be like all red, but if I can just make kind of the shading part more red, and then the internal glow more orange. Actually, what I might do is just kind of like do a soft pass over all of that there, and then another layer on top of that, where I'm kind of like getting a really saturated bright orange. And I'm going to try and use this kind of like at the base of all of these. Just kind of like make it reflect the whatever's in here at the base of this is glowing. So like down here, maybe we'll go a little more into the pinks and brighter. Something like that might look nice. Like where it's kind of pointing towards us. I feel like we might kind of like really get to see some intensity there, maybe. I'm just kind of like trying things, seeing what looks neat. So these side ones are kind of rolling away from us, although of course they still have facets of it that are kind of pointed towards us. They're kind of like going into the vessel at an angle, whereas these ones are kind of like more in line with us. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Sorry, probably does not. But okay. So I'm gonna go back to the orange as I get higher up. And I'm not sure it's brighter than the highlight, and that could be good. It could be bad. I guess whatever looks the most interesting is what we want, though, because that's the goal. It's just I want these to look neat. If we hit that, I'll be happy. So it's getting noisy though, right? So let's take a quick look at this with grayscale. So there's not a very strong read with this right now. We have kind of like this medium tone with like a lot of busyness. It's very high contrast. It's not insanely high because with it being this noisy, it actually kind of like blends together into one thing. There's no like shape that's really clear. Like you can see what the individual kind of like, you know, petals or scales are kind of doing. But like there's no kind of like sense that the whole thing is, you know, going in one kind of direction. So I'm going to lighten up the base of this. This might look really wonky when I come out of grayscale, because I am actually just using a normal layer with like this bright orange color, but we can always fix it after. With this set of assets, I've actually been kind of like smashing the layers down once I kind of am happy enough with it. And that seems to work pretty well for this. Alright, so I just want more of like a gradient like where it's like brighter at the base. And honestly, it should probably be this light overall. So maybe I'll just kind of do a gentle pass, and let's see what that did. Not bad. It didn't like wreck anything so much. It's just quite a bit lighter, right? And then the pewter we can make darker, so there is this kind of bold contrast. I'm wondering if we want to get rid of these kind of like just little flecks here on the side. I don't know if they're working. So I think try getting rid of that, and then turn on the sketch so I can see what's going on, and just kind of fix the pewter here. Kind of make it more of a dragon's foot right here, I think. So maybe that feels a little more cohesive. I think the bottom ones here I'm going to shrink down a bit too. Oh, actually, I do that by drawing the pewter over top. Right. Can be a bit kind of like confusing when you're erasing stuff by painting over it, but it can be quite a useful technique. Just kind of got to keep that in mind. You don't want to like not use that technique when you're kind of using it. If you like stop erasing, or if you start erasing instead of overlapping, you can kind of throw yourself off if you need to edit that again. But it feels a little bit more scaled correctly. I might even shrink that down more, like flatten it a bit more, because I kind of like the base of it. It's kind of like spreading out more. So if this is flatter, it might imply that better. Okay, and this one's maybe a bit big here. This one could probably go to the side a bit more. Need to tweak the highlights on these. Again, getting mixed up what one's supposed to be erased and covered over. Okay, so can't get it straight. All right, so that might feel a little bit more balanced. Yeah, it feels like more of a cohesive shape now. Like, yeah, it's got little kind of bits coming off the sides, but it's more one kind of main shape overall. So I'm happier with that. And that was one of the things I was doing with the other kind of like designs, was kind of like just trying to make it more cohesive overall. I felt like it was kind of missing the mark on some of that. So, oops. Again, keep making that mistake. It's supposed to be erasing to reveal and painting to hide. It's kind of not as intuitive, but it works great. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, because I'm using the pewter to like mask the layer behind it, so you can see just how like much there is otherwise. Right. The eyes are going to have a glow to them. Can worry about that in a bit. I do need to fix these over here. Okay. Let's turn off the sketch. I always like to be able to get rid of the sketch as soon as possible, because the kind of the influence it can have on just the muddiness, because it adds just kind of, you know, grayscale to it. Not grayscale, but just like, you know, it darkens where there's line work. So if I can hide that and just kind of like render without it, I'll get closer to what I want in the end. Oop. Oop. Oh, right. It's pewter. Why can't I fill that in? The masking. Okay, sorry. Alright, so we should probably add some render polish to the pewter. So let's see, I'll grab a different one here. just to get a reference for that color. And since we have a kind of light source to the top right, I'm not mirroring my brush here, just because that would make the lighting weird and incorrect. And I care too much about that. Pewter looks like it would be kind of an interesting material to work with, because it's quite a soft metal, yeah? Like, can you actually just kind of straight up carve it with simple hand tools, or is it maybe like most of the time you would like create a kind of a mold for it, or I don't know. I've never actually like tried to work it, but been having fun doing a lot of woodworking recently, just kind of weekend woodworking. And actually, I visited my family. We all have our vaccines, so we had finally, after a year and a half of not seeing them, I spent a week with them. It was very nice. But my dad has kind of basically just he converted their garage into like a workshop where he just has, terrible tools that are like half broken and or rebuilt or handmade. My father and I are very similar in a lot of ways, but basically every tool in there could destroy you if you don't know its many quirks. Honestly, I could probably make an entire range of very dangerous mouse traps inspired by my father's workshop. Yeah, so I was down there, and I actually ended up making a kind of blade for a hand plane. So I had recently, well, not recently actually, a while back, I had made a homemade hand plane for wood out of a chisel. And I just kind of like built the body for it. Works really good. Just gonna have like a deadly sharp blade for it, and I have kind of like figured out how to sharpen chisels quite well, so I can take very whisper thin wood shavings with it. It's quite satisfying. But yeah, I wanted to make like a dedicated blade that doesn't use up a chisel to do it and is wider, because my widest chisel that I use for it is like not super wide, so can't even kind of like face the side of a board with it. Sorry if none of you are familiar with woodworking or do not care. I'm in a rambly mood today, so I'm gonna ramble. Yeah, so we made basically a 2-inch wide kind of blade just out of some steel. Attempted to harden it. We weren't sure exactly what kind of steel it was. I was thinking it's probably just a mild steel though, so it probably is not going to hold its blade or its edge very effectively, because I couldn't quite temper it effectively, or maybe we just couldn't get it hot enough. We didn't have a forge, so we're just using like 2 blow torches at the same time on it. But I had a lot of fun with that. And I don't know. Oh, yeah, because I was talking about working with pewter. That's where this whole line of thought started. And I was kind of like, I was doing like hacksawing kind of the steel, and it's like you can saw through thick metal, given enough elbow grease. So I'm like, how do people work with pewter? I feel like you could probably Dremel it, But can you just like hammer it around? Like, I don't actually know how people sculpt things like this. Like, it'd be cool to like sculpt this, you know? So if anyone works with that, I'd love to learn more. I enjoy that kind of, you know, that craft and making things like this. Glass blowing this would be a whole other tier of insanity. I don't even know if this would be possible. Although I think I've seen stuff like this before. Huh? Yeah, I did. Alright. So I'm gonna drop some shading in this now. Let's see. We'll go cooler, and then we're going to have some of the color of the glass influencing the metal. But let's hit the kind of like occluded areas first. I think my chat might be broken. Oh, no, it's not. Sure, it's possible, but I think you would need to add the spikes separately. Okay. Yeah, so you would like heat it and then just kind of like, you know, weld them together essentially through melting and then just kind of pressing them. Is that how that would work? There's actually a really good, you know, those competition shows where it's like, you know, Bake Off or whatever. There was a glass blowing one, which was pretty cool. A lot of like crazy things people do in those. Looks so hard and so like everything you do could just break. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've seen people doing a technique like that. I've definitely seen like just crazy, crazy talented sculptor just basically have like a blob of glass and tongs and scissors, and like just by pulling it and stretching it and cutting it and twisting it, they like made like a beautiful like horse out of glass, and it's just like insane. So I feel like someone with that level of skill could probably, you know, pull these kind of like scales and stuff into shape out of just kind of like, you know, blown glass somehow. But that would be like insanely impossible to get perfect and like probably the hardest way to do it ever. But the fastest if you have that skill, right? But then, yeah, I feel like kind of like adding it after as individual petals or whatever would be how you would do it where you have better control. So I don't know. It is a crazy art, though. I had some friends that did glass blowing in college. It's cool stuff. Kind of one of those difficult to do as a hobby things, unless you like have access to a shop. All right, so just kind of want to block in shadows a bit more. And then I'm going to throw some of that kind of like glow from the vessel. And I think that'll probably take us like, you know, 80% of the way there, which is basically good enough, which means that we can then jump to any of the other assets which aren't quite there yet. I like to be able to make sure they're all good and done or at the same level of polish. And then depending on how I'm feeling, In an hour, I could either kind of like, depending on where we're at, go a little longer and kind of like have a late lunch where I stop the stream for the day at like, 2 or something like that. Or if I'm still kind of feeling energetic enough, or we don't kind of like finish exactly what I want to be done, we'll continue after lunch at 1. So in an hour, we'll make a decision on where we're at. We'll see how long the stream is going to go. So like when there's kind of like just patterns kind of etched into computer. So I figure this might have a bit of that at the base. It doesn't need to be like super detailed and obvious. Honestly, the more subtle it is, probably the better. Okay, I'm going to turn off the sketch. So I don't want that to mess with my shading any more than it has to. We'll probably have a bit of a rim light on the under back side of it, just to kind of help round it out. But I'm quite liking that kind of like the warmth, and I think I'll go a little like cooler with the highlight on the pewter here. So I'm going to do kind of actual highlights on it now. Oh, quite a bit brighter. Oop, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Alright, so I don't think I went light enough for some of the other pieces, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the glass is brighter than the pewter, so I should probably darken this on the left side first. Or lighten the glass even more, which I'm thinking might be the better way to go. I am not going to state what any of this is for and what it does, just because it's early enough that any of this could actually change, because we're still kind of like mid-development and testing and all that for the Halloween event. So I don't want to kind of tell you it does this thing and it does not do that thing anymore. It just is a bummer. Plus, it's kind of fun. It's still a ways away for people to speculate on. What do you think it does? I cannot tell you. Alright, so that is probably dark enough. Maybe not even that dark. I think what I do need to do is lighten this up still. So I'm going to go layer above. Let's try just a brightness layer. It's not an ideal way to do it. Switch to a gentle brush. Just kind of, hello? What? Are you doing anything? Doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Let's try this brush instead. It's not doing anything. Why is it not doing anything? Oh, it's on color. I thought I set it to brightness. There we go. Alright, let's try that again. So, gentle brush. Nope, gentle brush. Hit a hotkey that changed it. Just going to ever so gently, especially like where it's kind of hitting the pewter, I just want to make sure that does have that kind of difference of value. So that reads way better, right? Brighten that up here. Okay, so that is definitely improved. And I think I'll even just kind of increase the base quite a bit more. Now this might be really messed up color-wise, because again, I'm just using a brightness layer. It does not do anything to the color or saturation, but you can always tweak. The beauty of digital artwork. I don't need to be able to pull molten glass into a perfect horse on the first try. I can just kind of mess around and continue editing and tweaking, and thank you digital tools for undos and all kinds of crazy capability. Cool. All right, let's see how this looks. Ooh, I don't like it. It knocked out so much of the saturation, right? So let's see if there's a different... Okay, so overlay did definitely brighten it up, and I think it might have done it enough. So let's see. Yeah, I would say that that has enough contrast that it reads as like mid-tone darks. And then we can use some highlights to really just kind of like make things pop where we want it. So overlay is good, I would say. We could try, add is going to be no good. Add glow is a little better. Like it has more of that richness of color. It's probably too strong now. Not bad. Lighten, gross, screen, nope. Color dodge is not going to work. Glow dodge, however, that's very saturated. Yeah, add glow is very, like, a lot. I think overlay is still the best. Maybe overlay with like another kind of like little punch up. Soft light, hard light, vivid light. I wish that Clip Studio had the ability to just like navigate between all these and they were grouped better. Like we have like soft light, hard light, difference, which like makes it inverted, and then more vivid light. And like I don't understand why difference is here with all the like additive light color like intensifying and then invert and then more light stuff. So it just kind of feels really out of place. Pin light, dark mixamite. Is this doing? Oh, it's probably because it's just like a white. I think those require a bit of color to kind of like really do anything. See, like exclusion and difference should probably be grouped together. And it's not like it's, you know, alphabetical or anything. It's just kind of like there's no correlation. And lighter color, I mean, darker color, lighter color makes sense. Divide, yeah. Anyways, okay, so brightness was just like really kind of muddy. So I'm like an overlay. Pow. All right, cool. So the highlight's fine. The shading on the pewter got interrupted because I wanted to increase the contrast. I'm going to turn the sketch back on, and we're going to just kind of finish this here. Cool, 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 cool. Anyone doing anything for the weekend? It's a long weekend for us, so that's quite nice. Probably going to complete the new hand plane, I think will be a goal for me. Excited to have a hand plane that fits the side of a board, so I can do it all in one clean pass as opposed to like multiple scrapings that I currently do. Alright, so the top of this, I'm going to brighten that up. Ooh, right. Oh yeah, we were doing like the actual kind of specularity on these too. Alright. It's feeling metallic. I don't know if it's like a very effective pewter, but I kind of feel like it works. I don't know. These specular highlights are really messed up now. Get out of here. Better. I want it for my shelf. Okay, so we have most of it completed. Pretty okay with where most of this is. I would say at that like 75% there. I just would need to get kind of like the glow onto the pewter here. It's super easy to do here. So just kind of, just a little bit of color punched up onto this. I'm going to go a bit warmer than the actual glass, just to, I don't know, because it seems like an idea. Don't know if it's a good one, but it's an idea. I think I'll hit like just a couple of points on it with more of that kind of orange glow. But I think just overall I want to have kind of this warm kind of haze coming off of it. The only thing I'd be concerned about is if it's going to mess with the values too much. So it kind of blends them together, right? See how we lose that kind of like harder edge? I'm not sure if that's a problem. I'm thinking if I change it to color, it's going to go back to the same value it has, but we'll see if it still influences the metal in a nice way. It's a bit too dark, I guess. You know, I guess it would impart, you know, glow to it. So it's probably fine. I just ease up on it a little bit. Because, I mean, it's this glowing glass, right? So it's going to lighten up. You know, where it reflects, so it would make sense. And now, I think I'm going to get just a Kind of sad how cheese and certain items don't have high-res images that are viewable in-game yet. Yeah, so, I mean, that's definitely something we're working on. Ugh, I don't know if it's like at the moment in the works. I think we've kind of all shifted gears to Halloween, but it's kind of like one of those quality of life things we want to try and get as much stuff as we can with that kind of high res look to it. A lot of items from the past just do not have high res version is part of the problem, right? So quite a few cheese from the past do not have kind of like it's just not something we were doing, unfortunately. I'm not sure for cheese specifically if it's just like we have yet to kind of implement that feature, because there's certainly a lot of cheese with high res assets, just not all of them. But the same is true for items, and we've been doing that for a lot of the items. But I think it might be the case of the ones that have it just automatically know to be able to display that, and if they don't have it, they can't. So that's probably what's happening there. Because there is just a lot of items from the past where we did not upload a high-res version. And it might be something that we can kind of create those. But there's definitely a lot of items that I'm kind of like, will anyone ever look at this ever again? I don't know if it would be worth kind of putting in the effort to find that original asset and output it. Because, yeah, it takes a little bit of time for each of them. And there's a lot of items, so it would consume a lot of time to get them all up there. Okay, so I'm worried I'm getting a little too blended contrast. I really should have done this on a layer not that red. So I want to pull back but not lose the red that I put in there before, so I messed up a bit. Just go back with the red, the darker red. A little bit of that warm glow. That's okay. Alright, let's look at that grayscale again. Yeah, I think that's okay. We do like lose that edge. I'm a little sad about that. I think maybe I'll actually just go even darker here, and then where that glow happens, it kind of creates a nicer, stronger, richer color there. And we'll just do a little bit of blending here. I feel like it could be softer, because we're not getting a lot of kind of like hard-edged light. It's very diffused, very kind of the light's coming from all kinds of angles. It's still low low light, so we're not going to have as much information kind of bouncing back towards us, whereas like this kind of like brighter sunlight, or yeah, just skylight, it's hitting it with more photons essentially, and kind of creating stronger shadows, and yeah, just get more information, so it reads better. At least that's how I like to kind of make that work. All right, well, I think we've hit that 80% point. So, oh, one quick thing. I want to make these eyes glow. So, let's see. Have like light coming out. Just because it looks cooler. this layer is an overlay. That would be why. I always do this where I'm like, yeah, we're like basically good to move on to the next thing right now. Totally. We're gonna shift gears. As these words are coming out of my mouth, I'm currently totally stopping painting this thing that I don't need to, and that is happening right now. We are now transitioning to working on a slightly different thing that is not actually happening yet. Okay, well, we're ready to go. I'm gonna switch over now, just right now. Just it's about to happen any second now. Just as soon as I'm done, kind of just dropping in little points of light that are really not doing a whole lot, but actually maybe it did. But yeah, totally switching gears now. I'm going to work on a whole other asset now. We're good. We don't need to keep working on this. Still going though, but okay. You can do this, Jacob. That's just basically my internal like, all right, move on. Come on. You don't need to. It's fine. You can go. Go ahead. You're done. No. Go ahead. All done. Just go. Go. And it's just like every second I'm like, oh, but like I could just a little pop there. That'd look nice, wouldn't it? Ooh. How about this and just a little more splash of that color? Oh, it could be a little richer there. Yeah. All right. Cool. Just a little punch of splash of color. Yep. Okay. But with that, I'm gonna save. Move on to a different one. So I'm pretty happy with the kind of like aesthetic. It's spooky. It's kind of like eerie, and I would say it's cool. But like I'm good enough on this. Like I feel like we're good. We can move on. But then I'm like, wait, hang on. But like, what about that? Like, I mentioned I wanted to put like a little rim light on the under back side of this, just to kind of make it pop a little bit. And I could just do that right now. But now that I'm thinking about it, I might as well just kind of give it that splash of color, right? Just kind of, yeah, things are never good enough. Like that is kind of like what I deal with on the day-to-day. What's interesting is we have a really good kind of like task tracking system that we use. It's called Planio. And it kind of like has this kind of built-in calendar, and you can kind of like plot the time when there wouldn't be any of that like there. Oops, over erased. But what ends up happening with me is I'll look at the timeline and be like, okay, cool, this is what I have scheduled for this week, and there are these many items, and I have these many hours, and I'm gonna kind of divide it up so I maximize the amount of time I can spend on every single thing. And it doesn't matter what I have to work on. I'll just like spend the whole time working on it. So you can give me like one task, and I'll like spend a whole week on that one thing, and just keep. It's never good enough. I can always keep working on something. But then if I have like 10 things in 1 week, it's like, okay, well, I'll do all 10 and make it work. But yeah, if you give me the option, I'll just keep working on it. So. That is the challenge. Right. But just a little crispy purple. Because why not? Okay, I think now I'm gonna say we gotta move on. Because technically we do lunch in half an hour. And I want to be able to either wrap up in an hour and a half or... Okay, so this one I want to change a bit. So I think that's the next target. I'm good with this. This has just a tiny bit of polish, but it's good to go. Good to go. Good to go. Yeah, so I should be able to wrap this up in an hour and a half. I'll take a slightly late lunch. I think that might be the way to do it. Ooh, computer's thinking. Yes, it's so true. Control S, Control W. But yeah, perfect is the expensive enemy of good enough. Yeah, and honestly, as an artist, you can never attain perfect. So good enough is great. And again, you know, like these are like little silly items for an event that are seen at like this size. So really, do I gotta kind of like get all of the angles of light and color perfect? No, I do not. But I like to have fun with it, and if I can do that within the allotted time frame, I will absolutely capitalize on that. All right, let's see. So what I want to do is I want to reduce the spikiness of this. It's a little spiky. And also go a little more purple overall. Because I felt like it was a little too... you know, the one we just worked on had kind of a similar palette. So I just want it to be more purple than it is orange. And let's see. So 2 things I want to do to the shape, actually. I'm going to move this. I mean, deselect it. I'm going to move this up. Hello? Oh, right. Of course, it's a different layer. Here you are. All right. I'm going to move this. I'm thinking here. And I just wonder if I should, like, rotate it. That might be fun. It's like yaw. Kind of creates this shape with the wings. Yeah. Kind of like a line going through these, right? That's kind of interesting. Now, I need to make this still feel like a spout. So let's see what happens when I try to. Okay. So I'll worry about the spikiness in a minute. But first, I'm going to I did like the skull going on, so I'm a little sad about losing that. But maybe we can work that back in. Not sure how, but maybe. know. Should this be smooth like that? I'm just gonna tapers towards this. I don't know if that works very well. It's kind of like weirdly unbalanced, right? Like maybe if this moves back here, this might work better actually. Let's try it. So maybe something like, yeah. I think that kind of works for the way that the handle is set up too. Plus, it was starting to feel like too similar a shape to this, with the way that was leaning. So this is like another asymmetrical one, but like it feels quite distinct, so I like that. And then this still works shape language, like there's still this kind of like flow here, right? So I like that. I like this being kind of a little wider at the base, and it actually works with this kind of wing over here. Let's make it kind of droopier. Yeah. Okay, I think that's working. Sorry, spikes. I mean, maybe we can, like, I kind of like these spikes here. They may be a bit extreme, but maybe we can kind of like make that work. Or just kind of like really nubby spikes would actually work well here. Like so. It's just like if this is supposed to be glass, which it is, I feel like it just kind of didn't work. It didn't feel like glass. Whereas I've definitely seen like the base of lampshades with this kind of like extreme, like almost knurling, I guess. I don't know, would it actually be how they do that? Could be. Don't know? No. Just taper it out. Yeah, I think I like this. I'm going to move the whole thing down a little bit. Center it a bit better. Yeah. Alright, cool. It feels more balanced. It feels like it's going to read better at a small scale. Yes, that is better. Yeah. Like growing crystal. Yeah. Alright, cool. So let's see, can I make, so this is a color layer, this is the actual sun detail, this is where the light was being done. Okay, so we're probably going to have to just merge layers. Yeah. Let's just do that. Merge selected layers. There we go. It's one object now. A little easier to just kind of unify the whole thing. So we're just going to bring it into more of that purple. I like the kind of central internal glow. It's just a little too spiky, I think, still. So what we can do is to our pewter. Just gonna soften that up. Honestly, if we're like matching the rest of it, I doubt there would really even be any of it showing right there. Maybe a little nub of it here and there. Right? Something more like that. It was interesting with that like little break of color here and there. So I think we can still accomplish that by like maybe having like a slice of it kind of here and there. So there's like a window. Like one here. Although I'm thinking it would be more like to kind of like create that wing. Something more like that. I don't know if that's very clear what's going on. Thin it out at the top, just so it's a bit tapered. Alright. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. Probably not. Maybe something a little more like that works though. Okay, that feels a little bit more like it works. Just trying to force that nub to work, and I don't think it's gonna. Okay, I think that works better. Okay, and then do we want nubs? I think we'll try the nubs again. Just make sure it's coming from the center more so. Okay. The nubs. Okay. I think that works. Maybe it doesn't need to there. These need to be softened down. Or would this kind of like go across? holding the neck of the bottle here, right? I think that works. Yes, I like that. That works better for me now. Okay, so this still need to shape the neck of this a little bit. Just need to take it in on the right side. Cool. All right. All right. I think that works. Cool. All right. So now I'm thinking I could do a layer on top of this that's a glow dodge. That's a lot. All right. Yeah. Excellent. All right. And then on top of that, get the kind of wavy surface to maybe make some sense. Maybe. Probably not. What was the bottled drink? I think it was like Orbits or something, where it had like a bumpy, like glass bottle, and it had like beads of flavor suspended within it, something like that. Okay. Let's go more saturated. And then here we have our glow dodge. I think just kind of like almost overload it with light. Yeah, looks neat. Alright, and if we have this as like glass that's glowing. I suppose that we have kind of like, well, honestly, I think if we're going for like a colored glass, we want to keep it colored. So I do a pass above the whole thing. It just colorizes. No, no. Maybe what would work? Overlay. I want to like knock out the white. Multiply? Multiply might actually be best. It's very pink now. Darken. Okay, that just takes the lights out, which is maybe good if I like pull that back. And then maybe even going into kind of like a warm blurple here. It looks neat. Okay. So now another layer on top of that. Getting a lot of layers. I could merge these as I go, to be honest, and I probably should. I think if we're getting kind of like this internal glow, it's going to be like really saturated actually, because it's like the color going through, or the light passing through the glass and like coming out at us. So it's going to just be the color of the glass, right? Whereas like a highlight is bouncing off of it, and light is getting absorbed, but not nearly as much probably. I don't know if I like these darker nubs here. Maybe going in the wrong direction. Alright, but we're coming up on 1 o'clock. I feel like we're actually really close. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, instead of going on an hour-long lunch break and then returning for a little bit and probably being like exhausted immediately, I think I'll just work a little longer and get this to good enough, as well as making sure the other ones are good enough, and call the stream there. Alright, so I'm just going to go and do a little specular highlight. Watch this. Yeah, I think we won't do the hour-long lunch break and then continue stream. I think we'll just kind of finish up and call it for the week. I feel like you got to see a lot of cool stuff. Actually, it's probably not the best way to do the highlights on nubs like that. Cool. Alright. I don't mind that. And down here, I think I'll actually just like blast it out here, just because that looks neat. And it's maybe losing a little too much of that purple. So let's Alright, I think that's good. Okay. Now the question is, I'm gonna not merge this actually, but should we try and like imply an actual kind of like liquid in it? No, no reason. Just should we? Like, something like that. This or this? Like this might look nicer at a small size than that. Yeah, I think that just like looks cleaner. So I think I'll just stick with this. I'm sure there would be a way to make that work, but I don't know. What indeed, Mudkip? What indeed? I am not revealing its use, other than it is for Halloween, I guess. Okay, and then what I will do here is add the kind of like stopper. Alarm. Alright, so what we still need to do is the pewter. I want this inset, but that might be hard to show. I was kind of thinking with these like little shadows it might, but I don't know if that's going to read. maybe if the edge here is kind of like more of that glass color. Get more of that kind of like nubs. Yeah, maybe. I think it's okay. They look connected now, at least. We can do the same with these edges. Cool. Alright, back to the pewter. I think I need to get, let's look at it in grayscale. So at the neck, it's kind of too close. I think I need to brighten up the glass going up and darken the neck up a little bit. So if I darken that, and then alright, I'm going to merge. Start merging. Can't stop me. Ha. Right. Now, alright. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna bring a little more specularity to this, just brightening up a couple of the highlight points. Yeah. Stopper's looking a little sad up there. It's just like a mushy pile of Play-Doh. Melting snowman. Okay, so we're gonna get, let's see, right here. Let's do something like that. Okay, cool. Okay, thinking that's not bad. Obviously the stopper at the top needs some work. Just a little bit more on some of these little bumps. And okay. I'll do the stopper. It looks very sad otherwise. Probably just steal it from a different layer, but number one, I'm too lazy to be lazy about it. That's all the numbers that are part of that. Cannot fight my logic. Some of the darker shadows in here. Alright, so that feels a little bit more finished. Less like a melting snow gold. Okay, now I want to have some kind of color influence. That's very purple, so I'll just have the shadows pick up some of that. Cool, and same thing over here, new layer, clipping. Okay. Now what I'm thinking is we could overlay, add glow, or just add. And then I'll soften it using my smudge brush. And basically, with it being additive color like this, I think it's just kind of basically influencing the shadows with a bit of this color, which, I mean, it kind of gets a little bit of everything, but it punches up the most color in the shadows, so I kind of feel like that works. Right? See that? I especially like it being like saturated where it kind of has this internal glow, right? So it still feels like it's a purple glow, but because it goes yellow, it's like really, it's overexposed, and it's kind of blooming with light, so it's kind of bleeding its light, where it wouldn't even kind of like pick up in that way, so it just feels like it's like really glowing quite intensely. So it's kind of the reason I'm using that technique anyways. It seems like it worked. Happy with that. So yeah, add layer. Not bad for kind of mixing a little bit of glow into shadows. Yeah. Alright, cool. That feels good. I'm actually quite happy with how that turned out. I'm just going to wrap up my screen. And we can just like really overexpose some of the areas right here. Cool. Alright. And here, think I got a little too much. Like going on there. Knock it down just a little bit. Alright, I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. So, a pretty big difference. It came together pretty quickly. Let's see, saved. And let's take a quick look through the sets. So, got this golden one. It's quite pretty. Got this one here. Do I have the stopper? Yeah. Okay. I might mess with the eyes just real quick. It was a little rushed, but I still think that works. Okay. So there's a croissant. And I'll do that. Okay. And this one, I like that. That might tune up just a little bit, but again, it's like you would have it in small size, it's fine. I need more highlights on the stopper there. Just do that real quick. So I did it on the dragons, but I didn't get it on the skull. So I got that. Alright, cool. I'm thinking we're probably good to wrap up. I'll probably like do little flips and final tune-ups as I upload. But I think I'm gonna call it, take lunch, do all that after. But let me grab a Larry link for all of you who have been gracious and hung out. Sorry I wasn't like conversing so much today. Copy link and paste into chat. There we go. Let me make sure it's working by, grabbing my own copy. And it does. And thank you, Larry and Michelle. All right, so I would say that's a wrap. Thank you all for hanging out. Always appreciate company. Let's go back to cat camera. My co-host Charlie the cat has reliably stayed within her vessel, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed. I know it was kind of like quick and mostly rendered. Ooh, actually, right before we go, let's try this out again. I don't know how well this is going to go. Save, and because this one's a bit of a bigger one. Let's go for it. We're gonna export the time lapse. Hopefully, what you see at the beginning isn't like spoilery. But oh, here I gotta pause this. Move it to the correct window. Actually, I can scrub through it. And yes, okay. Let me just kind of block a little bit of text up there. Yeah. Just yeah, there we go. Okay, so you might not be able to see all of it, but let's see. Let's see what these have done. Right. So these kind of ignore this. Don't look. Secrets. Hang on. Just get rid of that. You can't. Don't look at it. You're just blocking it. Oh, it's gone now. Okay. Thank you. You have a good weekend as well. I need just like mice to kind of like hide things. So like move this so you can kind of see it. And he's like, don't look. Don't read this. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I spent a while on a number of these that I didn't end up keeping at all. Good long one. Yeah, I mean, you totally can't like just rewind and don't do it though. Listen, I promised the team I'd stop spoiling things. Hang on, just wait. Don't look. You know, I was like, don't worry, guys. I'll never spoil anything ever again. Right? This is how it works. This is how you prevent people from seeing things. Boy, I did a lot of sketching, and a lot of it didn't end up sticking around. This one I did, but it kind of changed. It's kind of interesting. It's like you didn't get to see all this live, so you get to see it like sped up, so you don't have to, you know, waste all that time. Many hours were spent, to be honest. It's fun. I enjoyed working on these. Like they're cool to like design, but yeah, I think like I was probably not being super effective with my time. Though, basically, this week I had all these and like one other thing to do this week, and I've basically done it all. So I have still a half day left to kind of work on some concept stuff. So not bad. Oh my goodness, we're still only that far along, huh? If I like put it to 60 seconds, it's gonna go by crazy fast. But let's just do that. Whoa, look at it go. Zoom. Zoom. Oh yeah, a couple of them I like changed the file and did the sketch there, and then I was like, nah, I just want to do it all in one file. And this is today. Wow. Alright, well, I guess we're starting over again. Now you can see it nicely sped up. Alright, well, anywho. I hope you all had a good time. I did. And I shall see you next time. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. But until then, stay safe. Have a good weekend. Do all the hunting and have a good time. I'll catch you all later. All right. Bye for now.